Welcome back to the Wolff Den, presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Mike V to the show. Welcome to the Wolff Den.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
For the people in the audience who don't know who you are, let's give a quick intro and then we'll get into it.
Well, I guess the main thing ticket-wise, I do a YouTube show with another guy named Sean, and we just talk about ticket collecting called Talking Tickets. You can see it on the scroll there, that youtube.com/@the-bomb-tickets. We talk about once a week, anything ticket collecting related. Sometimes we'll riff on some sports or anything, but, it's very heavily just talking about collecting tickets and the ins and outs and all that goes with it.
Why the bomb tickets?
Man, so when I was out of college, I started a ticket resale, scalper, wholesale, whatever you want to call it, on eBay. And I just liked the name. And I was like, that was like 20 some years ago. So when it kind of just stuck whenever I created a profile, just like, oh, my eBay is the bomb tickets. And then, I make my Instagram, and it was ticket collecting, ticket selling. So I was like, well, I'll just keep it the same. But yeah, it's just the bomb tickets, kind of a dumb, goofy name.
Bomb. It's a good name to get, instead of bomb 2786 tickets.
Right. It's just
bomb
one
tickets,
of those random things.
It's always funny the way people, have all these numbers after us. Oh, maybe pick something different that's not already out there. Right. When you talk about you were selling tickets, you were actually selling used tickets, collectible tickets,
actually, like scalping, hustling, reselling. It started after college.
Actual tickets to events.
Yeah, like when I was out of school, that's kind of what my business was, online, and I'd kind of buy them wholesale from the teams. I started out concerts, then I started tailing away and just focusing on sports, and then would put them on all the retail sites. And it's kind of like a combination of investing, gambling, and having a retail or having a business. And then when I started collecting, that was kind of an easy thing to get into when people started getting back in the card boom. And, actually me and my friends got in it before COVID took off. So it was kind of a really good timing. I just couldn't get back into cards because I collected cards back in the day. I'm sure, did you, like in the 90s and the boom?
I had a great collection. I loved it. A couple things we'll talk about. Like every birthday and holiday, I used to get, a box of cards, a set of cards. And now it's unaffordable.
Right. It's crazy. I have a buddy who co-owns a card shop. I live in Dallas, and it's kind of north of Dallas area near Denton, in the city of Argyle. And I've kind of seen it from before COVID started and how it just got insane. And people were buying 5-figure cards, mid-5-figure cards, if not more, and not even really thinking twice about it. And, it's all about the hustle, the flip for a lot of guys. And that's why another reason I didn't really get into the collecting, because of the expense, how much it was, but also there's so much. Back in the day when we collected cards, it was like Topps, Donruss, Fleer, and then maybe Score and Upper Deck came along. But now there's, I don't know how many companies and variations and parallels. And I kind of just bailed on it when all my friends started getting back into it.
The problem I have with it is, let's just take Panini, for example. I think I got 17 different versions for one player. I'd rather have 8 different companies give me 8 different cards. And for me, that'd be good. And look, the market dictates it, right? They're not doing anything that's not selling. Back in the day, for me, again, it was just cool to have. Yeah, I would be disappointed if it didn't look good, like, change the color scheme, the look of it. You'd be like, well, this thing looks cooler than this one, right? But I didn't need to have all the flash and all the gimmicks that they do now. I'm not as huge a fan of that. And so I stopped collecting. I go to a card show once in a while because I try and actually see if there's tickets, and I'm in the collectible world. So I think I'll have a booth one day. I have some stuff. Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I won't. Who knows what any of this stuff is worth. But, the cards these days, it's just, guy hadn't played. I was trying to buy Kyle Trask It's like $150 for a Panini. The guy never played one down of meaningful football.
Right. If you wanted some of his better cards, you're almost like four some figures for his best.
But so then the ticket market started to explode, and part of it was because they were going away from physical tickets and moving to digital. But that doesn't explain the older tickets, which are a lot of the stuff that has the value to it. So what do you think was the big boom? Was it big names getting into the game like a Gary V and Darren Rovell just kind of pushing it and getting excited?
Yeah, for tickets, I think it always had a hardcore collector base. It's maybe a fraction of 1% of what card collecting is, but there's people that go out and are buying tickets for collectibles. Were there to collect, not to try to resell later. And then, of course, when COVID hit, it just kind of everything went on. I mean, not just collectibles. They're printing trillions of dollars, and everybody's got money, and everybody has this hustler mindset about flipping and making money. Well, tickets got caught up in that too. Especially in 2022, early 2022, late 2021. I mean, it got stupid also, where you had those 6-figure sales that now will be going for like 5 or 10 grand. That definitely helped. But what I always said about card collecting is what I've noticed. It seemed like 80 to 90% of the people were buying stuff to try to resell it. But when it came to tickets, it was maybe like 10 or 20%. Of course, when COVID got crazy and the speculation was rampant, that number went up. But as more people looking to buy for their PC and then put it in their safe or on their wall, and you'll never see it again. And you see that with tickets. There's tickets I've been looking for years that, I see once every blue moon. And if you don't get it, you ain't going to see it again, because that collector is going to put it in his safe, and it's bye-bye, and stuff is very rare. Some things, especially older tickets, are maybe a population of like 5 or 10. And then if you got guys who you're never going to see it again, and they have 4, 5, or 6 of the 10, there's only 4 floating out there. Well, who knows when those are going to come available? So you see that with a lot of the older, super rare stuff, and that just makes them very valuable, because you got to spend a lot of money to get some of those items.
What kind of ticket collector are you today, and how does that change from? You've been doing it for 20 years. How has that changed over the years?
Well, the funny thing is, I'm more of a newbie. So my story about collecting tickets, I did the whole ticket game about buying and selling, for like sporting events and stuff. But I didn't start collecting tickets until I think like 2018, 2019.
Okay.
We went to the Cleveland National, the sports national show, the collectors convention. And that year was in Cleveland. I just wanted to go to check it out and see all the memorabilia, and, a little hangout vacation with the friends, and go to an Indians game. And, man, they just got back into it hardcore, and they timed it pretty perfectly with the card things. And I was like, man, I can't do it. I'd like to collect, 'cause it's fun. My buddies are doing it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start looking around for tickets at this show. And I found like one guy, who was selling old Notre Dame tickets. I actually have it one on the wall. This is like some of the first ones. Let me grab the ones that I got. But some of the first ones I ever bought was at that show. And this was like, it was a Rudy ticket, the Notre Dame, the Rudy.
Yeah.
I bought it for like $500, and it was amazing condition, raw, 500. I had no idea what anything was worth. I just thought it was really cool. Then he sold me this like really cool looking Notre Dame broke Oklahoma win streak record, and it was a full, and it was immaculate. And that was a lot more.
When you bought it, it was already graded, and
no, it was they were raw.
Okay.
So I both bought them raw, had no idea what they were worth, didn't follow anything. I was like, Mike, I don't care. I want to get into something, because my friends are starting to get back into cards. So I just bought them.
I mean, that's not dipping your toes in. That's like diving in, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. Like, we had some money to burn, and I just thought, especially with that Rudy ticket, I was like, man, that is just so cool. And grew up Notre Dame fan, and I like the movie like everybody else, but I was like, okay, if I've learned in my history with like buying and selling tickets in business that, yeah, you're going to make some early mistakes, but the only way to really learn is just kind of dive right in, but just don't get make too big of a mistake where it just sets you back, where you're out of the game. So I was like, well, I'll buy these and do a lot of research and see what happens.
Well, so I normally would save this maybe for the end, but since you have the Rudy ticket, and that's a cool ticket, but you can't. It's hard to get cool tickets now because they're so expensive. If I could get any ticket just for like the cool factor, what I would like to have, it would be the Ferris Bueller ticket, which is very. I don't know what it is up to now, but it's not really affordable. Maybe
Right.
the Hoosiers. I think, was there a Hoosiers ticket for the game?
Yeah, I actually just traded for one the other day. I think I put it in my safe. But yeah, there's a Hoosiers ticket.
Yeah, I would love that. Those are the two that I would want. We'll talk a little bit about this one afterwards, but those are what I would want, like the cool factor. What would you want if you could just get any ticket? Price wouldn't matter.
Like some tickets I've been looking for since I started. I'm a huge Dallas Mavericks fan, and their title ticket, I think there's like one or two floating around because they do printed tickets at Miami. They've been doing it forever, but there's always somewhere, somehow, somebody has a printed ticket or something random. I think there's one on the Pop Report. I went to a 2011 Western Conference Finals or semifinals when Dirk got fouled by Ginobili. It was a game 7 in San Antonio. Just something random. Like, it's probably only worth a couple $100. But I've been looking for that for 4 or 5 years. I've never found one. I have a list of other tickets that I'd like to get, like 1919 game 1, the fixes in. I should have bought it, a few years back, but they keep going up in price. I'm just like, dang, it's kind of weird when you used to see it go for like 1,500 and then it goes for like 8,000. And you're like, well, maybe I guess I should have bought it at 1,500. Do I really want to spend 8,000 now?
It's going to go up to 10, but are you collecting to resell at some point, to pass down?
No, the vast majority of what I buy is to collect. I basically collect like historic events or stuff from the teams I like, but usually like big historic events that I wish I was at. If I see things that are way undervalued or underpriced, I'll buy them. Like I bought a bunch of tickets for the Rangers. I live in Dallas, and I didn't get to go to the Judge 62. That's the one I missed, but I had a bunch of tickets that I randomly got in a group buy that was a part of another, and it totally randomly ended up that game, so I had a bunch of tickets for that and graded them and sold them. And so, yeah, I like to make money like anybody else. So if I see an opportunity, I'll do it. But, for ticketing, it's mainly just collecting historical events that, I wish I was at. That's kind of what I focus on.
There's such a wide range of the ticket collector. I'm a guy who collects tickets to the games I went to. And because of that, they're way more meaningful to me than almost anything anyone can pay me for. And I'll give you an example. My friends and I go on a trip every year, and we go to a Major League Baseball game, a college football game, and a pro football game. And we've been doing it since 2001. So this is my book of all the tickets from all the trips that we went to. And I always tried to get, but I had some times where I couldn't get it. So I have a print at home here. Well, fast forward to pandemic and the move, the stuff I had to go through, walk around the stadium, whatever, I was able to get this ticket right here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's
Remember
probably
that?
how much time have you spent in most recent years just trying to get, something hard?
You know what ticket that is? The Rams Bears in 21, first game in SoFi Stadium. Justin Fields entered the game.
Oh, wow. And then 2020 was the basically no fans allowed. And then,
Right.
so how did you get that ticket? What did you have to go to get
I'm going
that?
to kill myself here because because of this trip, I do all the ticketing.
Right.
So I had 9 tickets on my account. And I went to this, said, look, my phone's broken, whatever. Can you print up? And they're like, no, we can't. And then she was like, well, we'll print them for $25 a piece. And I was like, just my my principal was like, I'm not giving $25 a piece for this. So I went around. Finally, I got to someone like, look, I have 9 tickets. Can you print? It's like, well, we'll do a couple of them. They charge us like $5 each. And I got 2 printed, one for me and one for my friend who collects tickets to every game. He's been to every Major League Baseball game. He's got a ticket. And now I'm thinking to myself, I go back. I've been offered $500 for this ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to sell it because I was there. I went, it's part of my trip that I've been going to for 20 years, but I could have gotten 7 more of them for
right
each and could have sold them all. And I don't even know. I mean, how many of those do you think are even out there?
Oh, less than 10, I would guess. I haven't looked at the pop report on it, but I would assume like nobody was, I guess if you're a diehard and you collect tickets and you're going to that game like you did, you would try to get a printout. But like you said, you got to go through.
I went to all 4 gates, talked to managers. You got to get lucky. Same thing with the Dodgers. My friends were yelling at me. I had a Dodgers ticket for that. It was nothing significant about it, just part of the trip that we did. And the USC also. It's just what I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. And my friend tells me, well, that's the point. If there's so few people asking you, just print it for them. You have it there. I get it. You don't make it a thing, but if there's a few people, just print it for them. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess they're just afraid that they're going to run into the problem that they had with the PDF printouts where they'll print one out for you and then maybe you'll try to sell it. Then you'll use your original ticket, or somehow I think they're always afraid that they're going to try to use it. Somebody's going to try to use it for a type of scam. And then they want everybody to be on their app. They want you to use their apps. They get your data and they train everybody to do that. So I kind of see why they do it. But to a point, it's like, come on, if somebody wants a printed ticket, there's easy ways to do this.
If you're still that's my point. You're still printing them. You got the printer there. So now I'm at Wrigley Field and I was like, you know what? Every time I'm somewhere, let me see if I can get a printed ticket. I go up, we don't print tickets. I'm like, well, I know you print tickets. I saw someone
it's like they're lie. They just lie because they
it's crazy. Tickets. So I go to the next guy. I go to the next one. He's like, my printer doesn't work. And I'm like, oh. And then the other guy goes, whatever. He's like, you're not going to get a ticket here. I'm like, am I not? Is no one going to get a ticket? Am I not getting the blah, blah, blah? It goes to the manager. And they can see that I'm getting having a conversation. And all of a sudden, someone comes over to me, rips a ticket off and hands me this. A blank ticket. I was like, it's like, this is customer service 101.
They don't care.
And I get it because now these people are coming in bulk and trying to sell them and they're printing them after the fact.
Right. Like the Rangers would print, that's one thing. The Texas Rangers, they'll print, you go up there and you buy a ticket and you ask for a printed ticket, here you go. But they're definitely in the vast minority. And it's just random, some teams 100%, like I've heard the Yankees
are the only ones
that even though a friend of a friend claims he's seen, that kind of thing, but it seems like every other team, there's a way.
You can't even buy a ticket from the box office online at the Yankee box office.
Right.
Yeah. They told me to go on the street, ask a stranger to borrow their phone. I had a broken phone. Go on the street, ask a stranger to borrow their phone. Put my information in there, like credit card or whatever, because I don't have cash. It's just, there's got to be a better way.
You're not going to get customer service in New York, I'm guessing. They're not going to go the extra mile for you.
So I'm so loose about what I think is cool and worth something to me and others. And you might be that way in the Booger Stubs Ticket Stub group, which is Facebook. Probably the best collection of high-end, serious collectors that I've seen out there, and some are a little bit snobby about it, right?
You get all walks of life.
Hey, that's not this or that's not that, and I'm just like, okay, but I used it to get in.
Right.
I don't need you to verify it. I used this ticket to get in, or this is what they gave. It's official. It has a thing, and then you get something like this. Like, why do the Reds have to put souvenir on that?
So how did you get that one?
That's a good question. I might have ordered it.
So like you bought it after the fact, or
It might have been after the fact, but they still could have put, like it did say souvenir here. Yeah, it's just interesting to me. This is one I want to talk about that really aggravated me. I was at the Field of Dreams game, and
right?
I asked them for a printed ticket, and they said, no, you can't. They're going to sell these. So they had a thing, by the way, anyone could buy it, which yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. But for this, they had thermal tickets. So for people who don't know, a thermal ticket is a box office ticket. It's blank stock that you run through a printer and you add the information. So they had thermal tickets that look just like this there, and the cost of buying that stock it's high. So why they didn't give me an actual thermal ticket instead of just this collectible ticket? I still have no. I'd love to talk to someone someday to
Right.
find
And
out.
it's kind of crazy because for certain events, like, these teams, of course, we have this team, for the community and win, but, they're all about making money. And there's some events like Field of Dreams where they could charge every person an extra $25. And I don't know what percentage would take advantage of that, but would gladly get a hard ticket that they would use at the game. And I don't know if they don't do that just because the logistics of doing the mailing, and then if somebody loses it, they don't want to deal with the headaches.
But what about at the box office, at the event?
Right. Yeah. I think it's more potential headaches. I guess they feel like it outweighs the financial benefits.
But there's no way that they don't have extra stock. The minimum order, if you're going to buy this, would be like 3,000. They're never going to print less than 3,000 of these blank stock. And they didn't have 3,000 people with. I'm still hoping to get someone to send me a thermal ticket from there. It's still on my list. So what's your feeling on this?
Which one is that? Oh, like I guess they call them the
it's a seat locator. It happens
locators.
after you put your barcode and it prints this out. This is the first.
I think that's about the next best thing you can get to actual hard ticket to enter the game. We saw like the LeBron record-breaking seat locator sold for 10 grand on eBay. I don't know if that was a legit sale that actually was paid for, but it's the best alternative. And, like I said, it's just not as good as a hard ticket to get in the game, but it's a close second.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's where the discussion goes, because the printed's going away. It just is. It's going to become rarer and rarer. And now with all the shenanigans going on, people buying and printed after the fact, if you're a stickler, do you just stop collecting anything new and just sort of buying old? Or do you think there's a new wave of collectors like, whatever the Super Bowl is about to send me for me being at the game? It's a commemorative ticket that wasn't for admission it's going to have the NFL stamp on it. Like I have these, it's got the official NFL on it. These are all Super Bowl,
right?
But they weren't used for admission.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because now it's almost, the demand's way higher for present day for, hard tickets than I think it was, 4 or 5 years ago, just because people think they have a lot of value, but the supply is almost non-existent. So when something does become available, a great example is the Aaron Judge 62 home run game, right? The Rangers printed like crazy. There's 1,000 plus out there. They're worth like $100, $200. Lakers did not print, but somehow somebody knew somebody to get printed tickets, and there's like a dozen out there, and they go for 5 or 10 grand. So it's almost like people want hard tickets more because they see the value in them, but the teams won't allow it. And I don't know. My hope is that somehow these teams, this is kind of what I was thinking, kind of like to walk it through about getting tickets at a game. So I went to the Mavericks game where Luka scored 60, 20 boards, 10 assists, right? Crazy comeback. Man, I wanted a ticket to that game. Of course, walk around. They don't really print. You got to get it beforehand. Not going to happen. But I'm like, why could there not be one or two options? One is the option where a team basically would promote throughout the game, hey, if you want a printed ticket, come by section whatever, and we'll print you one out after the game's over for $5 or $10, which would be, I think, the best option. I don't know if the teams would want to do that. Or two, the team would say, hey, you want a ticket from tonight's game? Go into your app, which everybody almost has to use now to go into the game, click a few buttons, pay $5 or $10 or $20, whatever it is, and we'll mail you a ticket from the game.
So that's on the roadmap for us,
right?
What we're doing, we've talked to major league teams. It's on the roadmap for us. There's some logistical errors and then issues, and then there's some cost issues to have stuff like automated or whatever. What if that wasn't an admission? I mean, it didn't get you in. How do you treat that? If it could be on official stock, it could be a special ticket from that game because there's demand from it. How would you treat that?
I think if you could get the app version where they mail it to you after the fact, if they would only do a ticket that looks, like a legit event ticket, maybe would have your QR code on there that you would, you can only get it if you went to the game, would have your section, row, and seat number. And then, of course, they'd mail it to you if that was the option. I think that's, like I said, the next best thing. And I think it's very similar to what the NFL does for the Super Bowl. And I think people put value in those tickets that they've been mailed after the fact. And I think those would be legit, but it'd have to kind of be all those things where, I would like to see the QR code that got you into the game on the ticket, the section, row, and seat number. And then that's all they would print. If they're not Joe Schmo off the street, can't order one. I don't think you could get personalization or anything. It'd just be like section, row, seat number, QR code, then some cool looking, because you could do a really cool one for that, like Luka game. They could make Luka on the front. The LeBron game, have LeBron on the ticket. Yeah, something very similar to that, which would have the section, row, seat, and QR. And there you go. It may not be as good as something that got you into the game, but I think people would there'd still be a demand for something like that.
There's a huge demand for it. Now, here's the other thing. Mixed feelings about this. I want to hear your thoughts. FIFA, who I had a whole conversation with about doing a commemorative ticket, would have been really awesome. Put to the fans, it said if you were at the game through your app, you can buy a printed ticket. Now, that's a weird thing to exclude fans because the average person can't get to that. It was in Qatar. Like, there's millions of fans who would want to have a ticket that they watch their team, especially the USA, who wins the game. And I just think that's silly to not offer that. Again, it's costing them nothing because we put it on sale, and whoever buys, that's what you print. So sometimes it's good to be like, hey, if we can reprint your ticket, and that's fine. But sometimes it's good to allow it to others, like the Maverick fans.
Yeah, I think you could have a commemorative option that would definitely be different, and maybe say commemorative on the ticket for somebody who wishes they were at that example. But it'd have to be definitely different than the one person who attended the game. It would just have to be separated.
But see, here's where I'm trying. I have a ticket, digital ticket. I have this ticket, which is commemorative, which looks exactly like the other one. And I know I was there, and here's the thing I was able to do. It's kind of hard just as a person, a collector, to be like, I mean, this is it. This is all I was able to get. I was at the game. And so the difference between, hey, I was at the game, I want to have something cool that's collectible. And this is only because the ticket market has gone crazy that people would question anything like this. Right?
Yeah, I guess people just kind of want to know there's a grain of authenticity to it and a limited supply. I guess if people that collect, just like me as a general collector of historic events, if I knew, you could click a button and they could print hundreds at any time, anywhere, and send them to you for $5 or $10. It's like, you know what? I'm okay. It doesn't seem authentic to me unless, like I said, it was differentiated from somebody's ticket who actually went to the game.
Yeah. And speaking of going to the game, what's your thoughts on this? I think it's ridiculous myself, but when we collect cards, you get a card graded. What does it look like? Is it a 10? Is it an 8, a 2, a 1, whatever, small population? You get a ticket graded. They throw I get a ticket authenticated, they throw a grade on there. Give me the ticket that has some character.
Right.
I don't want a ticket from 25 years ago that looks like no one's ever touched it. So that to me seems like a ridiculous part of the collecting. Part of the collecting. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess like any type of collectible, the better the better it held up over time. Just kind of the higher the valuation. And it is interesting because I have tickets like this full. It looks like may not have ever been used, but it's 5-10 times more valuable than one that's beat up and went to the game. But then again, that Hoosier ticket I have, it's beat up. It has the scores of all the games of that tournament that day written on the back. And like you said, it's super cool because you're like, you can almost feel the person that was at that game and envision them there, writing the score on the back of the ticket. Like, this thing, watch that game that 50 years later would be memorialized in a movie. So I do understand both ways. I guess it gets to the point though, if you're actually spending good money, you kind of like want to buy something you think will hold value, and just the higher quality, pristine type collectibles are the ones that, are most desired. And I guess, it's just kind of the way it is.
Some of that's just going to be the difference between a thermal ticket, which is heat transfer, and a season hard ticket, which is, full court, full color printing. I just think it's like, if I have a Ben, like, yeah, I took a ticket, I folded it up, I put it in my wallet or my pocket. I mean, that's what everyone. Now you got to go. People are coming in with their slabs. Right? I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's also, I feel like that shouldn't be a big part of, the grading of a ticket, because I don't know. I love a ticket that has character on it. Maybe.
I talked to some collectors, like my buddy Sean. He said he hardly even cares about grade. Yes, he'll take a higher graded one over another, but he collects MLB debuts. So if he has to get one that's beat up, he'll take it because he's just trying to build his collection.
I have no tickets graded. I'm going to tell you this story real quick. The only value I see for me personally of grading a ticket is it gives you a cool little thing that says what that ticket is. Right. I think that's awesome. I have this ticket right here. It's probably my favorite ticket, and it's the ticket that might be worth the most. And it's the Tebow Promise game.
Oh, nice.
I was there. Unlike most people who probably ripped up the ticket when they lost. Right. Like, I say it's like a horse race, right? Your horse loses, you rip the ticket up. Most people, they're probably on the floor or whatever. They throw them. So I had it, and it was not signed, and I went to go get it graded, and we can talk about this also. The amount of time it takes and the cost. One day late, it expired, and when I went to go, the price was double. And they're like, all right, well, you can. By the time they went to tell me you could do it again for like the reasonable cost, Tebow was signing tickets right here. I'm like, well, I got to get this thing signed.
So that's the game they lost, and he made
game
that
they lost
after
against Ole Miss, where he made the speech. This is called The Promise.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big Gator fan or a Tebow guy, like, how do you not have something like that in your collection if you just collect Tebow stuff?
And so the other thing we do is Ticket Time Machine will print up these little tickets for people to have autographed, which I think, it's cool to have a ticket autographed, other than an 8x10 photo of someone. They're smaller, you could fit more in. Do you think autographs devalue a ticket?
No, but I do. In some instances, I do. Like, let me grab an example. I actually have a couple random auto examples.
We got Mark. Mark's got a question about NFT tickets. We'll get into that. I mean, that's for another show, a whole other show. But we'll get.
I like tickets that I feel like don't take away from kind of what's on the ticket. Like, I don't think I'd want to get this ticket autoed,
right?
Unless it was somebody like right on the edges.
Yeah, because you're gonna
white. Yeah. I don't want to color this really cool logo, this look.
Yeah. What about the back?
I've been gravitating towards is.
What about the back of that ticket?
I have a immaculate reception ticket and it's autoed on the back. And if you've seen that ticket, it has a cool Steelers logo. And most people would want that auto on the front, but I think it takes away from the logo and the cool look of it. And it's actually on the back, which how I bought it. And I'm glad it is. And here's another one. I traded for this. This is a Nolan Ryan debut. And I like the auto on here because it's kind of down on the bottom. It's blue. I think to me, it's all about how it looks on the ticket. If I think it's going to take away from the logo or something like that, but there are people who are 100% anti-autos. I like it, but only for certain tickets.
Did you watch the Nolan Ryan documentary?
I did.
Yeah, it's great. It's incredible how good he was and how little accolades in a sense that he got. And then he was like 12. What was it, like 12 pitches away from 19 no hitters or something like that?
Yeah, like he had, I don't know how many hitters that got broken up by the last batter or second, took it into the ninth. Yeah, he was insane, especially growing up around here. I mean, he was treated like a god almost.
Yeah. Let's talk about NFTs as tickets and collectibles. I'll let you go. It's like I could rant about this for hours.
This is interesting because we talked about this because Mavericks, if you go to a game, and I've actually emailed back and forth about Mark Cuban about this. He answers emails. It's really weird. But I don't know if he has somebody filters them or he just looks, but every time I've emailed him, I feel like he's gotten back to me. The Mavericks send a NFT if you attend a game, basically to your email, and you can put it in your account, and it could be anything. It could be a picture of Dirk, whatever they want to make the NFT. Of all the options I could get, that's probably on the lowest, but it's something. But the only problem I have with the NFTs is, I guess, one, like I emailed him this. I go, can you make the NFTs unique for each individual who went to the game, like their section, row, and seat number, or like the Board Ape Yacht Club? They're all different. Like it'd be really cool to have the same logo, but with my section, seat, and row. And he's like, "Oh, we couldn't do that. It wouldn't be cost effective."
No, because it's design. I mean, you could do it. You actually could put section, row, seat. But
yeah, like just automate.
What these are just really nice digital tickets, which they could have been doing for 20 years, and they decided not to. They could have just done one cool image for a game, and they decided to give you this, right? I mean, what was stopping them from making a really neat digital thing for this?
Right. I guess they just, it's all about
just
cost.
One. This is 10 years. This is 10 years ago.
But the problem I have with like the Mavericks, they're all the same. So everybody gets 10,000 of the exact same thing. There's no uniqueness to it. So as a collector, I don't really have a huge ton of value to that unless it's this monstrously historic game. And it doesn't make it really unique to me. If I sit in my seat, I want an NFT that shows my section, row, and seat number. I know you can say, oh, it's the blockchain. They can show you that you've been there and, it's unique. But when I look at it, it doesn't look unique. It looks like something 9,999 other people have.
Yeah. So, I don't have a problem with this, but the people like Mark Cuban and the Gary V's of the world, they are pushing a lot of this stuff because they're heavily invested in it, right?
Right.
Rovell, who was, and that's fine. You should do that. You should be pushing the stuff you're invested in. But I think a lot of this market moves with that. And that's what I don't like. The people have the ability to move a market for pushing their own stuff and not really with a disclaimer that, hey, I own this or.
But that probably is more the future where, younger people are more comfortable with, those type of collectibles. And I think over time, these ticket NFTs will, I don't know if all teams will do it, but they'll evolve and find something that people find unique and find valuable. And, that's what I would find it more valuable if they would make them all unique.
This is the future of ticketing.
That's pretty nice. I mean, so it looks like a media credential.
Yeah, I mean, we can make it look like this. It could look like a ticket. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of what, how you want to do it.
Yeah. And I think, just the holdup is this, these teams want people to use their app, use the tickets on the app so they can get your data, maybe potentially purchase things through the app. So I think it's just gonna be really hard for them to ever go back to, hey, here's a hard ticket.
Not for admission. It could be no different than the seat locator. Hey, you had this. You can activate to print something with that QR code, and that's just the difference between on receipt paper. I mean, the locator is a printer. It's a handheld printer with receipt paper. Nice receipt paper, as opposed to we could have a handheld printer which you can get with a thermal stock that just looks like. I mean, it just looks like this. If you held this around and walked, you could do that. Now, I think it does defeat the purpose if you're trying to go digital to be handing that out inside.
When you talk to teams, what kind of feedback do you usually get about, the
a lot of lies and non-answers. I do. I mean, look, the only reason, and there's two reasons why we are at digital ticketing. You mentioned one, they want the data and it's cheaper for them. And that's it. It's not safer. There's going to be tons of fraud with this stuff. But, we're going to care about the touchless stuff as you hand me my card and you don't have to touch anything. We don't have to touch things.
But what about when you go there, not as a fan, but, as an owner of Ticket Time Machine, and you talk to them about, hey, we're looking to try to do something to get some printed tickets into collectors' hands, our fans' hands. What kind of feedback do you get to that?
This is what we get. I'm going to show you. You get a nice season ticket sheet with nothing on the back like this. You get a national a playoff game with nothing on the back. You get here a thing that they tried to do that says Blues Travelers, which is not the name of the band if you're a Blues Traveler fan. Right?
But aren't the Ticket Time Machine business, aren't you guys trying to create?
We are. We are.
Yeah. And that's why I wondered what they say, because I feel like there's a path to getting, if take your son to his first game, man, I want 2 tickets from that game where I can keep that forever. And like at the Mavericks games, you can pick up your first fan little ticket thing. It's not. I don't think it's just kind of not authentic. It just seems inauthentic, basically.
So this is what we did, and I'm going to show you right here. We had a guy who was at the game that I was at, and it was his first game, and they couldn't get a ticket, so I printed him this. Now, there's no reason why this can't be on Steelers stock, and I could do it. They don't have to have it there. I could just have Steelers stock the same way I have Ticket Time Machine stock.
I feel like, gosh, if these leagues and teams could outsource all this, where they don't have to worry about hardly anything.
Well, that's what we do. We can be. Fans, we can also create something different. It doesn't just have to be this old school stuff. It could be something that looks like this, and it could be customized and personalized. And the people who are real collectors are going to poo-poo on it, but there's a big market for people who want something.
And I think it would be great, if the teams basically promoted it at the game, and then when they buy it, they think they're buying it from the team, which they are, but it's flowing through them to somebody like you, who basically would do all the back end delivery.
Sell it in the team store. You don't sell it. You'll sell it. You'll buy it. It'll come to you within a week. These NFL tickets, which we're supposed to be getting, I'm told we might not get them for 2 months. Like what the heck's taking so long? I can have it for you next week.
Right. Yeah, I guess, getting into the game, the barcodes and all that, I guess they have to make sure everything's,
But the game's over.
I don't
Once the game's over, you can.
After the game.
Once the game's over, there's so much more you could do with a collectible, a commemorative ticket. But that's not. But you're not going to buy that stuff, correct? As a fan, unless you.
No, I would. Like if after that game, after that game where Luka scored 60 and 20, if they came on the Jumbotron and said, hey, for $10 or $20 a ticket, just go into your app. We'll send you a ticket from your game in the mail in 2 weeks. I would have done it in a heartbeat. Like I probably would have spent.
It looks like this.
If it had my section, row, and seat number on there, and it looked like that, and I know they were only sending it to people that were at the game, I definitely would have spent $100 a ticket on something like that.
And if they, so how do we prevent? Because it's again, it has to be you have the barcode for that in your account.
That's why I feel like through the app is like the true only way you can verify that somebody was at that game. Like you have to do it through your app, and it's so automated and 4 buttons and done, and they have your address on there, and then they send it to me. I get a nice cool ticket with my section row and seat. Just looks like a normal ticket. I freaking hang it on my wall and said I was at the Lucas 60-20-10 game.
But you'd be mad if I could get a ticket because I'm a big Luca fan and I wasn't there and I could put something
Yeah, if
else.
you got a ticket that had a section row and seat number and you weren't there and any Joe Schmo could do that, then I probably wouldn't want to get it because I would, in a way, I would find it inauthentic.
Yeah, no, I'm like I like both ways. I think anyone should, if they're a
But
fan,
I feel like somebody should be able to get one. It would just be, it would say, instead of a section row and seat number, it would say commemorative.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But yours is commemorative too.
Mine is commemorative, but I can only get my version of it, and it doesn't say commemorative, but it would have the section row and seat number.
Got it. No, I get that too. You would put like section row seat. They do like a play, like the year or the date, right? Everyone would have like 9/21/22.
Yeah, whatever, just kind of like I bought a ticket, but instead of me getting it to using it, they sent it to me after the fact.
This is long overdue. Thoughts on the new Beckett ticket grading system?
I think it's great. Number one, because it's bringing competition to the grading marketplace. And whenever you have competition, they're going to step up their game. We've already seen it. PSA and Beckett. PSA has already dropped their price to $30 a ticket. There's a lot of faith in the Beckett graders, the people there. The guy who runs it, we interviewed him on our last show. Yeah. He has a lot of respect in the community. And now it's just showing that they can do it because they have the graders, they have the researchers, and they just need to prove that they, can do it. And I think a lot of big collectors are already sending their stuff to Beckett. So I think they already have legitimacy just as much as PSA does.
What are you looking for? Obviously price, but how long they're going to do? Does it matter what something looks like? Because I've seen other grading for cards and they just, I don't know, they don't have that. It just doesn't look as cool to me. Does that matter to you?
I mean, the slab matters. You got to want to know that whoever's grading the ticket and authenticating it knows what they're doing. How much does it cost? How long is it taking to get back to you? I mean, everything Beckett's done or said right now sounds great.
Yeah.
So hopefully they live up to it. And another big part of that, like I said, is a lot of the big collectors, there's a lot of them already sending their stuff to them. So if the big collectors are doing it from Booger Stubs, then, that's almost all you need to have faith in it.
No, I would agree with that. A lot of really just smart collectors, educated collectors. I take the snootiness and the snobbiness with a grain of salt.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, whatever, everyone has a different feel about what their thing is worth and what makes it real. Have you heard any stories about someone who tried to get something graded or authenticated and they were told it wasn't real? But
I have
they're at the game that they know it was real.
Let me see if I can find this ticket. Basically, it was the drive, the John Elway.
Oh.
Let me see.
How many tickets do you have graded?
Man, probably 150, a couple hundred. Well, I'll see if I can find it in here while I'm
$50 a pop to grade them, right?
Yeah, well, back in the day, you could get it as low as 15.
Okay.
But now, now it's like 35. But anyways, so a lot of people had John Elway the drive tickets, and they were grading them, and there was like 40 of them that have been graded, and they're all fulls. And some guy came out on that Booger Stubs group and was like, "Hey, everybody who thinks they have the drive ticket, it's actually fake. It's actually a ticket from the following year or the year before. I can't remember which one, they call it, a phantom ticket, a game that was never played.
Right.
And they gave all this proof. And then it always was weird to me. I was like, how can there be 40 unused John Elway the Drive tickets? Because it just doesn't make sense, because it was the biggest game in Cleveland Browns history in however many years, 30 years. If you had a ticket, you're going to go to that game, and they were going to rip it. So why are there so many unused tickets? It didn't make a lot of sense. And then I was like, oh, well, what this guy just said made a lot of sense. But they're all PSA graded, all authenticated, and they're all not from the Drive. They're from either the previous or the following season. So PSA basically screwed up.
That's interesting. It's also interesting to me, like when I show you this is a full ticket, right? Because this is NFC.
Uh-huh.
And this is not. But back in the day, they were just ripping off stubs instead of scanning. They had to rip them off. So it's like you couldn't get a full stub, or people get all crazy about, oh, that's not a stub. I think I like the beauty of tickets too, the way that you do. And, if I go through some of my books, I'm like, that was a really cool ticket. The Gators used to have a contest with like kids to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me, that you got away from that sort of thing, which I thought was really, what are my tickets going to look like, instead of it's just, generic Ticketmaster. And there's so much ability to make things look whatever you want now, especially from a commemorative ticket, which is really gets me, like they're doing it, but they're not even making it look like a ticket. Like this.
Yeah. Like,
doesn't look like a ticket to me.
When you go to a game, you show your QR code on your screen, right? It's like, why couldn't they just put something really cool in the background of that QR code? And then, like we just talked about, hey, you want a ticket to this game? Well, that's what it's going to look like. See what's on your, we'll send it to you in the mail the next day, or print it out, or something like that.
It's coming.
That's what I feel like. I feel like we're so early into the whole mobile. Everything's still trying to be figured out, what people want, what teams are willing to do. It's just in a weird place right now. And
we are. And that's like one of the
things
people feel, if they give you something printed, that they're taking away their ability to go digital. That ship has sailed. There's no going back. But let's figure out a way to offer a better experience for the fan. Now you have all this opportunity to generate revenue where you were not, and a great opportunity for partners and sponsors to be a part of this, to engage with the fans. So it's really a no-brainer, and it's a matter of time. And they're doing it now, but I think they're doing it wrong. And then there's the good old boy network and the people they've been dealing with for a long time who are getting licenses and businesses and just not being challenged to do better. It's on the way. This stuff is all on the way, and it'll be interesting because there'll be people who don't care, and there'll be people like you and me when we go to a game who's going to be ecstatic about it, and there'll be some collectors who are still going to try and flip them because scarcity still will be, so hey, we're going to sell them today, and that's it. And you get it today. The whole thing started for me is when I went to a Marlins game and Edinson Volquez throws a no-hitter. It didn't even occur to me to ask for a printed ticket. And I collect all my tickets,
right?
But they announced it over the loudspeaker. If you want a ticket, come to the box office, which I thought was awesome. So I was like, when they wouldn't personalize it for me, I said, well, I know they can, they just don't want to. And that's how Ticket Time Machine was born. And, I know I'm not alone. There's all different types. What number is that? We don't know. I've seen, we have surveys and data, maybe 50% of people collect, and then a third of those collect everything, and some just collect to, is it important? There's so many milestones. That's why baseball is so, like, man, 162 games, 30 teams, all these players, milestones are a huge, huge thing.
And it's just, it's not only the milestones, it's like we talked about, your first game, your son's first game. My buddy kept his first date was a Texas Rangers game, and he kept the tickets to that game. People want, there's a percent of people who want, something from that game, a memento.
It tells a story. It tells a story. Is that the Rudy? Is that your favorite ticket?
No, my favorite ticket. I mean, it's one of them because it's one of the first I bought. I'm trying to think up on the wall, I kind of put some of my favorite ones that aren't like crazy expensive that would, one of my favorite ones.
and you don't have to answer these next two questions, but if you want to, great. Do you have an idea of what your ticket collection is worth and what your most expensive ticket is worth?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Jackie debut, which is, a six-figure ticket, and then I have a Wilt 100. I mean, so you kind of just, I don't want to like get in a ballpark number, but you
Yeah.
can start with the Jackie and it just kind of goes from there with all the other ones I have.
I mean, there's not a
Um,
lot of people who have the type of collect. I mean, you're in a high
yeah, I
bracket.
guess he's in a select group, I guess, but other people would. It's just, I'm lucky enough to have the financial means to get the ones that I want to a point. You get to a point where like I'm not spending that on that, but other things.
But you would
Um,
trade. Like I could trade
yeah,
this.
like this Nolan debut, I haven't seen one available in all my years of collecting, like for sale or anything. The only way to get something like this is to trade, and that's with a lot of ticket collectors. Is you gotta trade to get some things because sometimes they don't come for sale.
I would think the price of ticket grading will go down. It's going to be as the times go down where there's enough people grading, and if you say it's, hey, we have this much demand, it takes this long, there's no real incentive for them. Maybe a third company comes into the game, and why not?
Yeah, I think we've already seen it with cards. They were at almost 100 when it was insane, and now they're down to almost like 20. Tickets are 30 or 35. I
I
think we'll stay in that ballpark, maybe get down to like 20 or 25.
I have one card that's graded. It's a Pete Alonso rookie card, and I only bought it. It was $20, and I'm like, well, it costs more than $20 to grade this thing, and the card was only $20. Like if I wanted it, so that's it. I was gonna get this Tebow graded. Maybe I get the Fields one graded. When things die down, but it's for me. It's just so I have
Right,
something
right.
cool that says the promise and Fields debut and the drive, or like all these cool events where it could actually say it on there. House on fire, family's out, pets are out, all your work stuff is out. You can grab one thing. It could be a ticket, it could be whatever, a signed baseball, it could be I don't know, a piece of clothing you got. That means what would you grab?
If I had to grab one, it would be that Jackie Robinson debut, just because the value and the historical significance to it.
So
Um,
if you could grab like a handful of tickets, you would just
yeah, I would
take
just get in my safe, just grab a handful, throw them in the bag, and go.
or take the safe. I mean, that probably
Yeah,
has.
well, it's too heavy, so I have to start grabbing.
Is it fireproof, the safe?
Yeah, it's like a fireproof 300-pound type
Well, now we'll
safe.
find out. You could leave it there and take something else. You figure
And
the
maybe
safe will
maybe it
be
would
there.
survive.
Safe will be there when it's done. Um, what is there a holy grail of tickets, like they used to say um, what was the Honus Wagner was?
Oh yeah, well we've did a top 100 that we're gonna start rolling out where we got like 30 collectors to rank their top tickets. I guess you'd say like a Mount Rushmore. My Mount, I think I had like Jackie Robinson debut number one, Michael Jordan, like that red version debut would be, I think I had that number two or three. The Wilt 100, I think might have been up there. The Lou Gehrig Luckiest Man speech ticket. And I feel
No,
like
that's
I'm forgetting one. Oh, the Babe Ruth called shot. That actually, I think that was number two on my list. I think those are like a solid top 4,
I
5.
have. This is the only ticket I've ever bought. It was a Miguel Cabrera, which seems like it's not worth as much now because there's a lot out there. But I think it will hold some value down the line. I don't even know why I bought it. I was just, I want in on this. What the heck? But these are my like the Fields. Let's see what happens. The Tebow promise, and I also have a cock block, which is the Jarvis Moss block 2 extra points against Carolina, and they wouldn't have without that. They're not going to go on to win a national championship. Um, but this is stuff that just means it's so personal to me. It's a story. The stuff I would take is baseballs that my dad gave me. I have old Jackie Robinson signed them, Roy Campanella. I think it was one of the Dodgers, or I don't even know what it was, but it's priceless to me. It's you know, and to me that's what collecting is. instead of some of the stuff that we're looking at, which is, I think, is speculation. You use the word speculation, investment, gambling, all of, I think, I think some of the cards and the tickets, and it sort of takes away from that because there's so much attention onto how much I can make. And if I get
Right.
this, I
Yeah,
forgot
I think like the best stuff to buy is the stuff that you're buying for your own collection that you wouldn't sell. You plan on holding it till the day you die. Stuff that even in my history of buying stuff that I've like, oh, I'm going to try to buy this and sell it later. Usually that's the stuff that doesn't, work out that way. It's more of the stuff that I just bought, I'm never going to sell again, is the stuff that, had gone way up in value.
Is there any value? Do people want a radio row pass from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, anything for sure. Media passes, anything that basically got
What's
you
your
in the
take on
game.
this? This is a wristband seat locator.
They were talking about that, I think, on Boogers, or we talked about that the other day. I think those definitely, if there are no Super Bowl tickets, people may collect wristbands. Like, I mean, they're talking
There's
about,
a lot of people who knew about it.
I think, like the first music festival, the not Lollapalooza or Bonnaroo, the other one that's in India. For some reason, I can't think of the name of it. Coachella. I think the first Coachella had wristbands, and I thought I read something about that the other day about people trying to collect those. The first Coachella.
I collect everything, so I have all the wristbands from the festivals that I went to. But some of them I couldn't even tell you what year it was. I couldn't tell you who played. I mean, that's the sort of thing of these collectibles, that the value of grading or having something that tells you exactly what it is without having to know. And then some people just look at it and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that. That was Steph's record 3 or whatever."
Right.
Great chat. I mean, I love ticketing. Obviously, that's why I got into the game, and I'm so different. I'm a unique because I see the value on both sides, and I think the future is bright for collectors who still want to have something. We're going to find a way to get us something that's meaningful. Okay, maybe not valuable, but meaningful, which is really what it was about back in the day. No one thought, oh, let me keep this ticket. I'm going to sell for 6 figures, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just kind of thrown away.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Desk drawer.
We're going to get you out of the Wolff Den with the same question everyone gets. You can spend a day, 24 hours with anybody in the world. They have to be alive. You can't be related to them. Who would you choose, and what would you guys do?
Have to be alive. Can't be related to them. Man, that is a good question. I guess at the top of my head is kind of a dumb one, but maybe Dirk Nowitzki.
Okay.
Just because
cool.
He's like my favorite player of all time. Dallas. We're about the same age. I've been around him a little bit, and he's just kind of a fun, goofy guy. If maybe not him, maybe like a Warren Buffett, just
either one. We've had people do Buffett. It would be cool to hang out with. Very under the radar, like the records that he has and how good he was. I think people don't say his name as much.
Yeah, I feel like he's, I don't know if he's top 10, but top
he's
20 maybe.
I'll email Cuban and ask him if he can.
Cuban would be an interesting one. He'd drive me a little crazy though, but
Cuban would be a good one too. Well, we'll put Dirk on there if we can ever make it happen. We're going to try. Thanks for joining. Check out the YouTube show, Talking Tickets. Link is here, but if you do Talking Tickets, you'll probably find it. But at The Bomb Tickets, if you want to drill in, Instagram at The Bomb Tickets. Looking forward to some more chats that you have coming up soon, and see where the hobby comes. We'll do an update on Beckett for people, and if you have any questions, just reach out, and we'll be happy to help you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone. We got some great shows coming up next week you don't want to miss, so stay tuned and do something great. Thank you.